The First Opium War, 1839 to 1842, was one of the most significant conflicts that shaped the history of relations between the East and the West, particularly between China and the British Empire. It was not merely a military conflict, but an economic, cultural, and civilizational struggle, as Britain sought to impose opium trade on China to achieve enormous financial gains, leading to massive social and economic upheaval within China. China in the 19th century China was under the rule of the Qing dynasty, a vast empire controlling extensive international trade. The Chinese economy relied on exporting silk, tea, and porcelain, while the import of foreign goods was very limited, creating a trade surplus in favor of China. Britain and the opium trade Britain faced a significant trade deficit with China due to the enormous demand for Chinese products. To offset this deficit, Britain began exporting opium to China from its colony in India. Initially, opium use was limited to medical purposes, but it quickly turned into a massive trade and widespread addiction in China. Illegal opium trade. Despite the Chinese government's ban on opium trade in 1729, Britain continued to smuggle it in for profit. Opium led to widespread addiction and the deterioration of the Chinese economy and society. China's rejection of opium, the Chinese emperor ordered the confiscation and destruction of vast quantities of opium at the Canton, Guangzhou, port in 1839. Tensions escalated between the two countries due to the losses incurred by British traders. British control over global trade. Britain aimed to open Chinese markets to its products, including opium, by military force if necessary. Beginning of the war officially started in 1839 after the destruction of opium shipments by the Chinese official Lin Zexu. British forces. Britain used its superior naval power to control Chinese ports and cut trade routes. The Chinese. They were less militarily equipped compared to Britain, which used modern ships and advanced artillery. Results of the War Treaty of Nanjing, 1842, Britain forced China to sign a humiliating treaty. Cession of Hong Kong to Britain. Opening of 5 Chinese ports to British trade. Payment of huge financial reparations to Britain. Dismantling of Chinese sovereignty. The Chinese economy became subject to the influence of Western powers, weakening the authority of the Qing dynasty. Opium smuggling increased, and social chaos spread. Beginning of the unequal era of Britain and several Western countries imposed unequal trade agreements on China, politically and economically weakening it. Long-term consequences. Public discontent. Anger among the Chinese towards the West and the Qing dynasty increased, leading to revolts such as the Taiping Rebellion. Societal decline. The problem of addiction worsened and public health and productivity deteriorated. End of economic independence. China began to suffer from constant foreign interference in its economic and political affairs. Conclusion. The First Opium War was not just a conflict over the opium trade, but the beginning of a long history of Western intervention in Chinese affairs. Final note. The First Opium War was a powerful reminder of how unethical trade can lead to social and political disasters, and its repercussions are still studied as a historical lesson on colonialism and illicit trade.